All right, today's practice is focusing on the third and fourth chakra. Third chakra being in our right above our belly button, more where the space where our digestion is held. And then the fourth chakra is predominantly into your heart space toward the direct center of your chest. So a lot of the poses that we'll be doing today are directly associated, where core will be moving into a whole lot, really warming up our bodies from more of the third chakra. And then we'll counterbalance that with heart openers towards the end of the practice. So if you have props, I highly suggest that you grab maybe some blocks or books or even soup cans. I also have what's called a yoga wheel. It's really beneficial for, especially since I have some herniated discs in my back. This really helps just gently open the back body, especially when we're moving into the heart chakra. So just a heads up if you wanted to get some additional props for yourself, but we'll start out on our backs in Shavasana. And to really move into the chakras that we're working into today, take one hand to your heart center, and then the other hand to your belly. And just acknowledging your right to be here today, your right to move into your own sense of power. And your right to love, loving yourselves, loving others. We have the right to show up as our authentic selves. And some days it might be harder than others to do that, to move into our power in our third chakra, and to move in our right and ability to love in our fourth chakra. And knowing that our energies in our bodies are constantly shifting, and especially how we interact with ourselves and how we're interacting with the world really contribute to the manifestation of the balance in our chakra system. So knowing that everything works together. Continue to breathe into this space, to inhale in through your nose and exhale out through your nose. And we'll start with a visualization to first move into our third chakra, imagining a bright yellow light that's circling just around your belly. With every single breath, maybe you imagine it growing bigger and bigger and bigger until it starts to envelop your entire body, this bright, warm light. Let's continue to envision this as we move into our core. Start to drop those feet down towards the ground, knees up towards the ceiling. And then start to notice that belly button pull in towards the back of your spine. So you start to eliminate some of the space you created between your mat and your physical body. You can stay here the entire time or start to lift your legs up towards what looks like you've fallen back into a chair. And knees are gonna stay bent, but take your hands towards the top of the quads. So start to feel that pressure turn on. The same time that you're pressing your hands in toward your quads, press your quads in toward your hands. So really starting to fire up into your core. Keep drawing the belly button down towards the spine. Maybe you continue to visualize this bright yellow light enveloping towards your center body. Breathe soft. And we can really take note of how powerful our body truly is when we start to charge up our core. Take one more breath here. Exhale. And drop your feet down, knees up towards the ceiling. We'll counterbalance this with a back bend. So before we move, take one hand back towards the heart, the other back towards the belly. And envision now a bright green light towards your heart center. And similar cueing to your third chakra, imagine that with every breath, your inhales start to grow this green light bigger and bigger and bigger. Continue to gently breathe with this visualization. We'll add on a back bend now. Drop your hands down towards your mat. Press your hips up for bridge pose. Keep squeezing the glutes. And then if you wanted to grab a block, of course, you can place the block underneath the hips, but really press down into the heels to continue to lift your hips high. Slowly release the hips down. Give yourself a big hug. Draw your knees in toward your chest and just rock gently side to side. Just taking notice of the work that you've already put into this class. And maybe seeing how your body is starting to warm up, especially into your third and fourth chakra spaces. We'll continue to move there into our core and towards our heart center for this entire class. Drop your knees towards the left side of the mat. Come into your twist. Continue to drop the shoulders down into the mat. Gaze up high or maybe gaze away from your bent knees. Pass through the center again. Exhale, opposite side. Same options still apply if you wanted to gaze towards one side or continue to gaze up towards the ceiling. Come back towards the center, give yourself another big hug. Round your nose up to meet your knees. We'll continue to move into core now. Drop the shoulders back down. Lift your legs up high towards the ceiling. Ground your hands down by your side body. Then again, zip the belly button in towards the back of the spine so you can find support into your lower back. So only moving to the degree of where you can continue to feel the connection of your spine towards the ground. If you start to feel it lift up, try not to go as far when we hover each leg down towards the ground. On your exhale, start to send that right leg down and long towards the hover. You can always keep the knees slightly bent just to help out the lower back a bit more. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, left leg comes down towards the hover. Thinking this more like an experiment to generate heat into the abs. Inhale, lift your leg back up. Then exhale, switch sides. So we're exhaling, lowering one leg down, then inhaling, lifting that leg back up. Continue to switch on your own breath to exhale, send your leg down. Inhale, lift back up. One more time, each leg. Exhale, inhale. Last time, exhale, inhale, lift. We'll meet into a happy baby pose. So either peace fingers around the big toes, maybe hands towards the outer edge of the feet. You don't even have to take your feet up high towards the ceiling. You can even just take your knees wide just to help open up those hips. Continuing to drop the tailbone down, finding length into your entire back body. Your next breath, draw your knees back towards your chest. Another big tight squeeze, round your nose up to meet your knees. And then rock forward and back a couple times. Knowing that you don't have to do this, but feels nice to move into a bit of play. And we'll meet into a comfortable seat. Crisscross position. Let's take a twist. So drop the left hand down towards the right knee. Continue to lift up and towards your chest. And then switch sides. Come back towards the center. Very brief back bend. Drop the hands down by your side body. And then just lift the chest up, roll the shoulders back. Maybe even take your neck up. So you're even opening up towards the throat chakra. Now on your exhale, walk your hands forward for a seated forward fold. If you'd like, you can grab a block, place the block underneath the forehead. So allowing ourselves to use this pose to help lengthen out through your spine. Your next breath will meet in towards a tabletop position. So find your way towards your tabletop. And then walk your hands about one hand's width distance forward and shift the hips forward. So we're moving into a modified plank pose here. So even zipping that belly button in towards the back of the spine. Maybe you want to cross your legs just to help support your lower back. And open up the collarbone a bit more so you even get into your heart space. So roll the shoulders down your back body. Lower all the way down towards the belly. Release the feet, lengthen out the lower back. In a gentle cobra pose, inhale, lift your chest. Open up the heart chakra. Exhale, lower down. Tabletop position, press back. And we'll move towards our first downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, allow the hips to rise high. Knowing that you can stay in tabletop instead, but maybe while you're here in downward facing, you bend one knee at a time. Just continuing to move into the calves, the hamstrings. And we'll take a couple times just to shift forward from downward facing dog to plank. And knowing that you can also modify this to come into tabletop and then just shift forward to the modified plank that we were just doing. So on your next inhale, shift forward, high plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog, press back. Couple more times. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, downward. 3 more. Inhale. Exhale. 2, inhale. Exhale. Last time, inhale, lower all the way down towards the belly. Either cobra or upward facing dog. If you're taking upward, lift the quads up off the mat. Continue to open up the chest. Downward facing dog, press back. Walk your hands towards your feet, towards the back of the mat. We'll hang out into a ragdoll pose, hands around opposite elbows. Slight bend at the knees. Continue to use your breath to provide for your entire practice. Just cueing you into self-regulation. Slowly release the hands, then start to rise up towards a standing position. Once you get towards the top, inhale, reach your arms high, and take a big bend. So you're taking a field goal position. Yep, so you're still staying in standing. It's allowing you to go into a slight back bend. Squeeze the glutes, press the hips forward, gaze slightly up. Reach the arms back high, inhale. Exhale, forward fold, release. Halfway lift, inhale. Walk out to find your plank pose again. All right, we're shifting this around. So side plank, right hand down, left arm up. Knowing that you can drop that right knee down for extra stability. Continuing to work into the core. We'll meet back towards a high plank. Switch sides, side plank, other side. Come back towards plank pose. Lower down towards the belly. Either drop the knees, upward facing dog or cobra. Counteracting what we just did with core into a back bend. And downward facing dog, press back. Gaze forward. Walk all the way up towards your hands. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, arms high, and hands towards heart center. Let's take a moment here just to close your eyes, to sense back into your breath. Maybe you want to take one hand to your heart again and the other to the belly. Continuing to breathe. Noting your experience on your mat and how you're showing up today, knowing that we are all perfectly imperfect just as we are. So all these experiences that we have in our body and even outside of our body clue us into who we are. We'll continue to move into our power by taking some sun salutations. So when you're ready, we'll meet again towards the top of the mat. Inhale, reach your arms up, and exhale, forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale, step back, plank pose. Knowing that you can skip chaturanga and up dog, we're meeting downward facing dog in the next couple breaths. Otherwise, chaturanga, lower down. Inhale, upward facing, and downward facing dog, press back. Of course, tabletop is still available, and child's pose is always available. Any pose that you really want to come into, it's always yours to take. Gaze forward, step or maybe jump up. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach up, arms high. And hands towards heart center. Again, we arrive. We'll do 2 more sun salutations. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. So continue to move with the inhales in and exhales out. Inhale, halfway lift, and step back, lower down, low push up. Again, push-ups are always optional. We meet downward facing dog. Gaze back forward, step or jump up towards the top. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach high, arms up. And arrive, hands towards heart center again. So core really works that warrior energy, moving us towards action. So we will be taking warrior 1, warrior 2, and warrior 3 that also have an element of a back bend incorporated to find that balance. So when you're ready, we're at the top of the mat again. Step that left leg back to find warrior 1. You might need to adjust your legs just a bit. So take notice of what's going on in the right leg first, the leading leg. Maybe walk that right leg out more towards the right side of the mat to create space for your hips. Then the back leg is facing 45 degrees towards about the 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock position. Option to reach your arms up. So we can even add on a back bend here to field goal the arms or just reach back. But of course, if you wanted to stay upright or even hands towards the heart center, that is a wonderful place to be at too. Continue to breathe soft. Let's find a warrior two. So pivot open towards the left side of your mat. You might need to adjust your feet. So that back foot's still about 45 degrees facing towards more like the 9 and 10 o'clock position. T-shape through the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And this is where we find that core start to come on to find a uprightness into the spine. We'll reverse our warrior, reach back, bicep by your ear. Then cartwheel the hands down, frame that front foot, pivot up onto the back heel. We'll move into a warrior three, a balancing pose. Lift the back leg up. So knowing that the hands can stay down, or maybe you want to start to lift those hands up so your hands are towards your heart center. So it kind of feels like a three-legged tabletop. We'll meet back towards a standing position. Left leg meets the right. You got the other side. Hands back towards your heart center. Step the right leg back, warrior one. Again, you might want to walk that foot out just a bit to set up the legs on this side. Take note of what's going on with the back leg, making sure that you're helping to spiral open those hips. And sometimes it might feel nicer on your body to actually come into crescent pose rather than a warrior one where you drop the back foot. So what feels best on your body today? We'll be here for one more full breath. Let's meet towards a warrior two. Almost feels like we're surfing or snowboarding. T-shape through the arms. Reverse your warrior, reach back, inhale. Cartwheel the hands down, frame that front foot out again. Pivot onto the back heel. We're taking off for a balance, lift that right leg up. Again, arms can stay down, chest is still lifted. Maybe you start to lift those arms up off the ground. Just testing your balance here for warrior three. We'll be here for just one more breath. Exhale, right leg meets the left. Inhale, reach up. We're sinking down to find a yoga squat. So start to separate those feet a bit wider. Maybe you want to grab your block here to sit down towards the yoga squat. So why this is both a chest opener and core, we use our core to sit upright, using our lowest core to really lift up. And then we're trying to open up that heart space. Again, you hear me kind of cue this all the time where we're always just typing and closing off our hearts when we drop the shoulders down. So we're trying to find the exact opposite in this yoga squat. Either hands towards heart center, or maybe you just take your arms wide to help open up the inner thigh line. Release the hands down, straighten out the legs. Keep those legs wide. We'll be moving into lizard lunge, really focusing on the heart opener in lizard lunge. Keep the right foot as it is. Step that left leg back, drop the knee. So rather than dropping the chest down, we're thinking about leading with an open chest. So continue to roll the chest back. Toes can be tucked or untucked. Hands are on the inside of your right leg. I'll be here for about 2 to 3 more breaths. Staying for one more full breath, and then transitioning towards the other side. So left foot is now forward. Chest still open. Getting ready to shift back towards downward facing dog. Step that left leg back to meet the right. We'll shift forward towards a high plank position and lower all the way down towards your belly. Untuck the toes. Inhale, lift up for either cobra or maybe upward facing dog. And press back towards a child's pose. So toes together, knees wide, reach your arms forward, and rest for a couple breaths. While you're here, if you'd like to slide the right arm underneath the left, drop the right cheek down towards the ground. We'll just use this space to help prep us for another back bend in just a couple breaths. If you took one side, make sure to switch out your arms. If you had the arm variation, come back towards child's pose, then rise up towards a tabletop position. We'll be taking camel now, so rise up onto the knees for your next back bend. Hands towards the hips, press the hips forward, squeeze the glutes just to help lead more with the back rather than jamming the back. And you can keep your hands down where they are. Maybe you want to tuck the toes and come back to meet the ankles. Then release towards a comfortable seat. Swing the legs around. We'll move towards a seated forward fold. So going into a counter pose, what we have been doing for our back bends. So rather than opening up, we start to find that balance, that boundary to fold over and look more internally. Lift all the way back up. Either planting the hands and just lift the chest, or maybe you come towards reverse tabletop to plant the feet down, press the hips back up towards the ceiling. Slowly release the glutes down, crisscross at the legs, downward facing dog is where we meet. We'll hold towards plank pose, holding here for a couple breaths, getting in some more core before we come all the way down towards our belly. Holding for last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower all the way down. To take our next back bend, you can either come towards Sphinx with forearms down towards the mat, maybe Cobra or upward facing, or go for locust pose. Extend the legs back, reach the arms long. If you prefer to move towards bow, to bend your back legs, fish back for the outer edge of your heels. Work on kicking and pressing back to lift the chest up. So this looks very similar to what we just did in camel, but now we're on our bellies. One more breath to lift. Exhale, lower, child's pose, press back. This time, take your knees together. Reach your arms back by your side body. Just relaxing here for a couple breaths. Wherever you're at, we'll move towards 90-90 stretch. So take that right leg towards the top of the mat. Right leg is going to be parallel towards the front. The left knee is also going to be back. So you're making a 90-degree angle with both legs, 90-90 stretch. You can either stay upright or start to fold over. So it almost feels like pigeon pose. Stay here for about one more full breath. And lift up. Before we move towards the other side, Keep that right leg as it is, but then cross the left leg over the right. We'll take a twist, either grab around that left bent knee that's facing up, or you can take that right elbow towards the outer edge and gaze towards the back of the mat. Slowly release. Then we'll switch out the legs. Left leg now goes in front. Right leg is now bent. Again, you can stay upright for 90-90 or start to fold over. About 2 to 3 more breaths. Slowly lift your chest up. Keep that left leg bent. Cross your right leg over the left and come into your twist again. Slowly unwind. Send both legs forward, so feet down, knees up. Reach the arms forward. We're coming into boat. So we'll move into high boat. Feet down as the option, maybe knees up. We'll hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower all the way down. We'll take one more back bend. Feet down, knees up, press the hips up. Take one more full breath in. Exhale, lower the hips down. One last squeeze in, knees towards your chest. And final resting pose here. Relax completely. Maybe coming back with one hand to your heart, the other to the belly. We'll breathe here for just a couple breaths. Just finding restoration and balance.